welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel, guys. As coming up today, we are going to have the full words from Miralem Pjanić, where he sat down and took serious shots at Ronald Koeman in a scathing interview with Marca. We are going to be talking about exactly what he had to say and exactly what we can make of it. It is all coming up, so let's get to it. Because I want to be honest, guys, and say that over the weekend when this interview was first broadcast there, I did have doubts about making this video. That's why I have taken a few more days sort of thinking over. Because on one hand, Ronald Koeman is still our coach. Ronald Koeman is still the man who's going to be leading the club throughout this season. And of course, we definitely want to get behind the team. But on the other hand, some of the things here that Pjanić says, you have to read into it and think, you know what? That adds up. We have been looking in from the outside at the very strange decisions that have taken place by Ronald Koeman since his time at the club. And honestly, Pjanić here doesn't only speak about himself, but he also alludes to other players who are going through the same frustrations right now under the coach. And for that reason, we simply have to address what he said. Because Pjanić started by saying, I always liked the way that Barcelona played. He said, I always watched their games. Their philosophy was clear. He said, I thought it suited my football very, very well. It was always my goal to play for a club like Barcelona when I was there. He said, I saw all the players that I had dreamt about playing with, but I didn't expect such a complicated situation. He said, because I found a coach that, well, I don't know. Pjanić continued, he said, even right now, here today, I don't know exactly what he wanted, talking there about Ronald Koeman. He said he didn't try to explain things to me or find any solution. He said I would go to him and I would ask what he wanted from me, positionally, what I was doing well or badly. I wanted to adapt as quickly as possible. He said because you need 17 or 18 players from a squad to win titles, but he didn't give me any answers. Pjanić said, my situation was complicated from the very beginning. He said, I got there after 2 weeks away due to COVID. He said, I started to train little by little alone to prepare myself to start to train with my teammates. He said, but 3, 4, 7, 10 days later, those days went by and the coach never came to talk about the season. He never spoke to me about anything. He said it was strange. But okay, fine. Pjanić said time passed, I was feeling good, playing, but of course I wanted to play more. He said then there's the point when I was playing less and things were complicated. He said it was tough physically, mentally. It killed my confidence because I had no communication with him at all. He said it was so strange. The coach is the one who says who plays and who doesn't. But he said there are ways of doing things. And I think already here you can start to understand the pattern that is unfolding with Pjanić and of course looking in from the outside. We've always had this sort of understanding of Ronald Koeman that maybe he's not that clear with the players who are not playing, that maybe they're not really sure why they're not in the team. He doesn't really give them the explanations that they so desperately crave because it has been puzzling to many of us. And it's also clearly been puzzling to the players themselves. Pjanić said, I'm a player who can take anything, but I'd like to be told to my face and not as if I'm a 15-year-old. He said it was a very odd way of communicating. It's the first time that I've ever experienced something like this. He said, I don't know what happened. I honestly don't know. I guess that he didn't want to take on responsibility or any confrontation. And so I knew that if the coach stayed, then I'd simply have to find another solution. Pjanić was then asked in the interview specifically there about the start of the season because Pjanić was very much a regular fixture in our Champions League team. He made 6 Champions League starts last season, but that was the same number of starts that he received in La Liga. 38 games across the season, of course, there is to participate in, but Pjanić only starting in 6 of them. Why? Pjanić said, everybody asked me that. He said they want to know too. He said, but so do I. He said, I would like to know. He never told me where he wanted me to play, what role in midfield. He said I didn't seem to have a position. I got 5 or 10 minutes. I would warm up for 45 minutes, but then I wouldn't play. He said, I've never had a situation like it. It wasn't easy. He said, you've got to be tough because sometimes I could have reacted very badly to him, but I was always respectful with him and all of my teammates. He said he had a cross against me from the beginning. It was hard to accept. I played all the Champions League games. We won 2-0 in Turin against Juventus, of course. He said, but then La Liga came along and I was out. And I think what's really interesting there about that particular passage from Pjanić is the way that he says there, he had a cross against me from the beginning. And I think that is the case, not only for Pjanić, but for several players, whereby if you're not in Koeman's plans, if he decides against you from the start, is there any way back? Is there any way there to change the mind of the coach? Well, Pjanić goes on. He said maybe he wanted something different than Allegri, Sarri, Luis Enrique, Spalletti, former coaches there of Pjanić. He said they all want different things, but they communicate them. He said Koeman just said, no, it's only rotation. I've got no problem. Your attitude is really good. But then I was left out for longer. I just couldn't understand it. He said he's a very, very strange coach. And it's the first time that I've ever come across someone like this. And Pjanić was then asked, is there a reason? Can you think of anything at all why Koeman would have something against you? Why he didn't approach you? Why he didn't communicate why you weren't playing or having minutes in the team? Pjanić said, I've asked myself many times, so many times, wondering what I did wrong. He said maybe he didn't like that I said publicly that I wanted to say more. Pjanić on international duty had been guilty of saying many, many times that he wanted to play more in the team. But he said usually a coach would say, okay, that's competition. That's what I like to hear from my players. But if that was the reason, I would have just liked him to have told me to my face that I wasn't for him. I just don't understand him. And I think what was really, really interesting then was that Pjanić was asked specifically about a period during the second half of the season. They're coming towards the end of the campaign, whereby Pjanić went 11 straight games without playing, even during a time, let's not forget, where we were stretched at times. We didn't have an abundance of options in that midfield, but Pjanić still remained on the sidelines. But Pjanić said, and this is the interesting part, I wasn't alone. He said, you can look closely and see that there were others. He said, I don't want to talk about them. He said, they can talk if they want to. But from February until May, I hardly played. I was really disappointed. But there was one person who was never going to change, and that was the coach. And it is so interesting to me there that Pjanić would actually come out and say, I wasn't alone. He said, you can see. You've all been watching Barca. You know there are other players going through the same sort of treatment that I received. Pjanić went on to say he was never even there to see the attitude of the players who didn't play. He said, it's the first time that I've ever seen that in my career. How can a player be motivated when the coach isn't even there to see the attitude or how he trains to try and work his way back into the team? He said it was one of the worst things I've seen, a huge lack of respect, and it wasn't easy for those of us who were not playing. And I think that is certainly the biggest point for me here. The fact that for the players who are not playing, the fact that the players who have not been selected, that's fine. You can pick your team. You are the coach at the end of the day. You can decide who plays, who warrants to start, and who doesn't. But there has to be that willingness to accept change. If somebody then comes in and plays really well, comes off the bench and proves, maybe they should get more time, you've got to hold your hands up then. As a coach, you cannot afford to be stubborn, and I just feel as though Ronald Koeman, that stubbornness has really hurt us during his time at the club so far. And it was interesting then when Pjanić was asked, is it over for you at Barca? Is it the end of your time there now? He said no. He said, I have a contract. I've always spoken highly of the club. He said I had bad luck with the coach, but Barcelona are Barcelona. I couldn't spend another year without playing. I had to go away and play, but I would never regret coming here. Things in life happen. I've always fought throughout my career. I know that I can play. I just wasn't given a chance. Before finally, Pjanić was asked there about the reported wage reduction. The fact there that apparently Pjanić took around a 60% reduction in order to leave the club, to go to Besiktas, to play football, and of course helping the club extraordinarily in doing that there. Pjanić said, I could have easily said, I've got a 3-year contract. I don't care. But he said, I'm not like that. I like football. The economic side, of course, is important. But what I love most in life, after my son, is playing football. He said, I want to be happy with my teammates, everything about football. Now I'm focused, happy, and I cannot wait to start the season with Besiktas. And I want to say there again, huge respect to Pjanić there for taking it upon himself to say, okay, I want to play. He's gone out to Turkey there. He's going to play for Besiktas now. He's going to enjoy a really good season. I'm sure he's going to play well over in the Turkish Super League, and full credit to him for wanting to play as a footballer. That's what you should want to do. And of course, making sacrifices in order to make that happen. But I just think all of these quotes here, we have to listen to them. We have to be open here to the concept that, Ronald Koeman can be stubborn. For the players who are not involved, for the players there who he doesn't see in his plans, there's no way back in. That is not a healthy environment there for a squad, because in a squad, in a team, you should have so many different players all working with that one ambition, that they can make it to the team, that they can work their way into your plans. But if you just shut them out, if you don't even give them that window to fight their way back, what's the point? Where's the motivation gonna come from? And I'm very, very interested, guys, in your thoughts there on Pjanic's words. Can you see how that would relate to what we've seen from the outside? Do you believe in what's being said here? And honestly, like I say, I was in two minds as to whether to make this video, but at the end of the day, This needed to be said. Please leave your thoughts, guys, and all of your opinions on what we discussed today down below. Thank you indeed for watching as always, guys, and thank you for the amazing support. I will, of course, be back very soon, but until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.